My son is in second grade and we're having behaviors from I don't know where. Only at school he's always hitting teachers, sometimes aid other students. Always I'm getting note from the teacher. What am I supposed to do? Because now they want him to go to other classes that is all special ed. I'm afraid they've given up on him or that the behaviors have gotten worse. Now, it seems like things come in twos or threes, and I was dealing with a case this week where the child did fine in his TK class, where he had 13 students and one teacher, but when his district bumped him up and made him go to first grade because of his age, and there were 26 kids in this crazy classroom, not enough support, the teacher is having a hard time dealing with all of her responsibilities. He starts to act out in all kinds of ways that the mom has never seen before. So I would say that, somebody who's misbehaving all the time is communicating with us and telling us that there are things in his environment that make him uncomfortable, and he doesn't have the language to explain, what it is that's making him uncomfortable. So we go back to the presumption, and the presumption is that a student is allowed to be in the least restrictive environment, and that's where they should be placed. And if they need support in order to be in that environment, the district has to give them support. So, the things that should be done for a student with behavior issues is one, I don't know how serious the behavior is. The email doesn't really say. It's possible that mom or dad doesn't know because they haven't observed at school. But, you want to know how serious it is. And secondarily, you want to convene an IEP meeting and demand that they give you a functional behavior assessment, not just a behavior support plan, but a functional behavior assessment that's really going to be a qualified person looking at the underlying causes of the behavior and figuring out how to, to work with all of that so that the behavior becomes unnecessary. And, while they are doing all that, they should err on the side of caution and put a one-to-one support person in there so that there's not any concern about the student hurting himself or others. So that's what I would say about that. And if you object to them moving you to special ed, remember you have the right to due process and stay put, and they can't change the placement unless you agree. So you are not without options, but it is true that you can, like I read this week all the emails between this mom that I was mentioning and the teacher, and you can kind of see when the tone of the emails changes and all of a sudden the teacher's like, this isn't a good environment for him.
Yeah.
Basically telling us that he's done in her class. So I don't know whether this teacher could be made to come around if all of a sudden there was really competent support for the student or not. That's always an issue. But the law is the law, and they can't remove him easily unless you let them, and you should request those other things instead.
I loved your answer, though, Bonnie, because so often we see that, notes start to come home saying, child hit somebody, and it's just a short jump before suddenly there's a meeting to talk about changing the placement. And I think a lot of times parents are like, my kid hit someone, which means now I have to let him go to this special ed. So I love that you said, no, it's communication. We need to get, our jargon term for the day, Bonnie, was FBA. We were just talking about functional behavior assessments. So get the FBA, know what it is, give the right supports, get the behavior intervention plan in, and use the argument to the school that while you're finding all this out, there needs to be one-to-one support so that nobody gets hurt. And because once you say that, then
right?
What's that?
And so the student can continue to learn.
Well, absolutely. But a lot of times, even though that should be the thing, a lot of times everybody doesn't have the tools to know how to do that. So, and parents, parents always write and say, how do I get that one-to-one aid? But I love what you said, because if we say, while we're investigating this, so that nobody gets harmed, let's put the one-on-one aid in. It's really hard for a school to deny that, because if somebody gets harmed, they're on the stick for that. So it makes them liable. And if, let's say that it takes them 4 weeks to investigate, and while that time you have the one-on-one there, if in that 4 weeks they do better, it kind of makes the case of the fact that your child can do it with the right support. And it calms the teacher down, because now Listen, I'm a former classroom teacher, and when you've got a kid who's got real behavior issues going on in the classroom, and you've got 24 to 44 kids in the classroom, you become a professional juggler, not a teacher. But for the teacher to see, oh, see, this can work with my child in my class, what a brilliant way of going about it, Bonnie.
Well, I mean, I think that's what's fair, and that's what the law envisions. And I get a little mouthy sometimes on this program. I get a little cynical. So I want to say to the teachers out there, I get it when your classroom is not running smoothly because you've got a little first grader that's a behavior problem. But, remember, he's not a monster, and he's probably helpable. And so rather than vilifying the kid, you should have the courage of your convictions and you should refer, refer, refer. Because I find that teachers are too deferential to the administration. They wait to refer kids, and then the problem just gets worse. Yeah. So I get what people are going through, and I want to help, but in order to help you, you have to help yourself.
Yes.
Kind of the problem.
And I completely agree, and I hope that teachers find the wherewithal to do that. But I'm going to say to the parents, a lot of times the administration makes it perfectly clear to the teachers that if they do refer, then they're looked at as weak teachers who can't get it done on their own. So yeah. I want to say to parents, help your teacher, and you stick your foot down and say no. And I'm not backing down from that because it's ultimately your kid, and the teachers appreciate it when you do that. They do.
Well, they do, and it gives a lot more force to a parental request for assessment or eligibility if the teacher says, "I see these things."
Absolutely.
And I know that there's so much going on in in school right now, and I'm really concerned about how much teachers are being asked to do. But that said, I think this will actually make your life easier, not harder.
Absolutely.
Referrals for assessment lead to supports and services, and that's what's needed. And it doesn't always mean that the student stays in the class, but we have a case now where the first grader was acting out and being assaultive, and it was disruptive. And he's been temporarily removed from the classroom with the parent's consent, and he's working with an ABA provider to get his language and his behaviors up to snuff so he can go back to school. So that was a good solution to a difficult problem, and that was only possible because the parents exercised their rights and got him looked at.
Absolutely.
So that's what you got to do. Question number 2, person. That's what you got to do.